Hi, I'm Rosh from Energy Matters. Welcome to our podcast, Road to Zero, where we dive headfirst into all things renewable. Join us as we chat with industry experts, tech specialists, and some of your favourite TV and radio personalities, asking the renewable energy questions you want answers to. Our goal, a net zero carbon future. Today, I am absolutely delighted to be joined by, probably one of the best tech specialists in the business, Sebastien, who's a national sales manager for Fronius Australia. Hello, Sebastien. How are you?
I'm good, Roshan. Thanks for having me. It's really good to be here with you.
Always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure. We have some very, very engaged conversations every time we seem to catch up, and which I absolutely love. And I know you're not 100% today, mate, so I appreciate you making the effort to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a bit tricky traveling around Australia, and you always catch those bugs here and there. But I'm glad to be here. I'm pretty sure you're pumping me up right now. So we're good. We're gonna have a
Look,
good time.
I will pump up the Sebastien tires throughout this conversation for a few reasons, to be fair. I mean, first and foremost, you happen to work with one of my favourite manufacturers and probably one of the last European manufacturers out there in Fronius. But before we delve into the technology, for those who don't know you, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey to date in the solar and renewable energy industry?
Yeah. So basically, I came in Australia, I think nearly actually 11 years ago for my studies. I went to RMIT where I studied mechatronics engineering. So it's a mix of mechanical and electrical. And funny enough, I picked this university because they were offering work experience. So I already know that, of course, you have the theory, but it's also good to get the practical, right? And to actually graduate, I had to do an internship and being supervised by an engineer. And at the time, thinking back about it, I was a bit last minute with everything, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in my third year. I need to find something, right? I applied a lot of different places, didn't have any answers, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting a ticket back home. I'm from Mauritius, and over there I have a lot of contacts, so we'll be able to find like an internship. So few weeks before I go, I got a call saying, "Hey, actually, there is an internship if you're interested with the Fronius company." I'm like, "Oh, Fronius, I've heard about it because in my course we do a lot of manufacturing, and Fronius does a lot of welders. So I thought I'm gonna work with welding machines. I'm like, oh my God, this is super cool. Even our friends at Tesla uses our welders. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be super great. And when I came and they were like, oh no, 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 we only do the solar side of things. So I was a bit disappointed at the start, but then I started to work in the repair center. So we have one locally here, and the guys had a lot of repair units in a queue because at the time there was only two guys working there, and they're like, look, we need some help. Can you basically repair, change the boards for us, do some testing for us? I'm like, no problem. It was very important for me to get like local experience is always better. Here in Australia you work differently. So yeah, I started my career in the repair center. Also, the managing director at the time gave me some side project throughout the year where they said, "Hey, give this a try. Let's see if you can achieve some of the side. There's like always a table where you just pile up everything that you don't have time to do." So I work a bit on this. I work on the service side of things and also in the repair center, so doing all at the same time. And because I was in uni, I was doing it part time. So I guess I did a pretty good job on this one. And just when I was nearly finished with my studies, I'm like, oh my God, I need to find a job now, like an engineering job. And I remember I spoke to the COP manager, so it's all our procurement manager. I'm like, hey, like I'm happy to work in the warehouse full time if you want. I like what I'm doing. I'm working in different departments. I'm learning a lot of things about the business. And he was like, oh yeah, no worries. We'll work something out. When just before I finished, he came and saw me and he said, hey Seb, actually I won't be able to take you. I'm like, oh my God, that's gonna be so
No.
bad. I'm like, oh no. But then they were like, look, actually we think you're going to be better in tech support because you like to talk. I like to talk, as you know. And they were like, look, I think you're going to be better in tech support. You're a very technical person. So how about you give it a shot? Give it a shot. They kind of like me, but I think one of the feedback is I'm a bit loud. So when I was talking,
That's why
everyone just I think we are similar in this way, right? So everyone started to close their doors, and I'm like, is it me or is it someone else? But it was actually me. After that, I think I did around 8 months in tech support. Then a sales engineer role opened up in a different department, so they needed more people to take care of clients. So that's where I applied for this role. Did it for around 2 to 3 years, and then they said, okay, now it's time to build a team more. If I wanted to manage the team, so now I'm doing more the managing side of the sales team, the sales engineer, that's how we call them. So we take care of all our customers out there. We do trainings, we look at, let's say, more in-depth problems for them and help them on the sales side and sometimes on the technical side.
Which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, if you consider how technical our industry is, and ultimately, we're always looking for ways to convey, what this technology does, how it works, to our customers, which in your case are solar retailers and or distributors. So it's imperative that communication lands really, really clearly. So when they actually then have the conversations with the end user, it's not a straight over your head type of scenario. Those end users actually get the crux of what that product can do. So I know you do that incredibly well, Seb, and which is probably why we get on well, because we're both talkers, as you said, and we both love technology. And at the same token, you don't want to be talking jargon. You want to be talking a language that anyone can understand. And I think my philosophy in life is, talk as if you're speaking to a 5-year-old, and then everybody will understand. And I personally also prefer layman, right? So I'm not too jargon. So the more layman, the better. But no, you've done incredibly well. I mean, first impressions of Fronius, I'm going to throw a couple of curveballs at you. I mean, what did you love most about Fronius when you first sort of, started working with them? You probably obviously, I know work experience was a bit more of a, this is a bit stressful because it's a work experience environment straight out of uni. But when you started working for them in that sort of tech support and then elevating into national sales manager, I mean, what's your feeling about working at Fronius?
Well, I think at the time when I was in tech support, there was a lot of things I didn't really understand. I'm like, why are we doing it this way? Why are we doing this way? And when they have a culture where you can share openly your feelings, I think you get the best out of everyone. And everyone was telling, like, if something is bad, they just say to the managing director, it's an open culture. We say, hey, we don't like this, right? And those are the reason why. And that's the actual part that I really like with the company is whichever level you are, you can speak openly with everyone and tell how you feel, of course, in a nice way, right? So this is, I think, the first part which I found very attractive, but also how they care about the people. So I've worked back home and also here, and seeing a company where they really take care of you, where they really value your mental health. When they see you tired, they genuinely think, hey, is everything all right? It's not just walking in saying, how are you doing? How was your weekend? Good, good. Okay, then we move on. No, they genuinely want to know like what's happening with you, and being more open. So I really enjoy this and the bonding with the team. So if you have the right character in a team, I think everyone just gel together. I had all the team members in the sales team coming 3 weeks ago, so just before Smart Energy. And I can tell you, I told the guys, I'm like, this is one of the most happiest that I've been because I saw how each of them exchange ideas. I see the energy in the room. I'm like, oh my God, I want it to be like this all the time. So I think there's a flame which is burning in all of us, which Fronius, it comes back from the headquarters, which they share with us. When some of us project managers or people higher up coming and visiting us in Australia, you don't feel like they have this title and they're like, oh, you're here, I'm here. It's as if you're talking to a normal person. So I really, really enjoy to be able to do those type of things with those guys.
No, that's fantastic, mate. Look, and that's always the impression I've had every time I've come over to you guys, even at exhibitions. I mean, you're always so happy. I mean, there's like lots of smiling faces between yourself, Yihan, Kenny. I mean, it's just a really happy environment to be in. And yeah, it's a breath of fresh air, mate. Now, a bit background for anyone. Look, I think anyone who knows anything about solar power has heard the brand name Fronius. I mean, it's been around for as longer than I've been around in solar power. It's huge. But can you just give us a little bit of background on Fronius? I mean, whereabouts are they based?
So it's based in Europe, in Austria. So that's where our headquarters are. So it all started in around 1945, just after the World War II. Mr. Gunther Fronius wanted to create more value for the world. So back in the days, people were not driving their car all the time, and the battery in the car was getting deeply discharged. So he was like, "Hey, this is a waste. Let's work on something there." So it all started there. Then 5 years down the track, which is very interesting, they started to work on the welders. And with welding, I think that's where we really excelled in terms of manufacturers using our technology. So, for example, SpaceX uses our welders. Big car manufacturers uses our welders. There's actually one which I'm not allowed to say online, but maybe I will mention a bit about back in Europe there is a very radioactive area which our welders also was used. So I'm not gonna get. I hope I don't get into
No, that's all
trouble
right, mate. I'm not
for
going to
this.
get you in trouble.
So welding, our welders are basically the Rolls Royce of welding machine. Anyone who does welding knows about this, and we're pretty grateful. And
And how does
I
that
think
then translate to inverters? I mean, you're well known in Australia for being one of the largest inverter manufacturers. I mean, your inverters are still manufactured out of Europe, aren't they?
yes, everything is made in Europe. Interesting. Sometimes we hear that, hey, France is moving to China or in different countries. No, everything is still made in Europe. Some of the sales tactics that people uses. Still a family-owned company, so we don't depend on banks. Financially stable. And I would say, yeah, down the track we went with the inverters because all of those technologies is the same thing. It's like you're converting DC to AC or AC to DC. So it's
Yeah.
basically the power you use in your house. It's AC, so you need to convert this energy. Maybe a bit of a funny story on this. Everything that we started, people say that we wouldn't be able to do it. So just to give you an example, to reduce the weight in a car, right? Back in the days, oops, just my light, sorry about this. Um, when you look at in a car, right, it was made of steel before. But what
Yeah.
we were able to do is weld aluminum and steel together, so that you can reduce the weight, right? A lot of people were saying it's not possible. We invested so much money into it, and finally the guys did it. Similar back in the days before we established our solar division, where we make our inverters, they were like, what are we doing? It's not, there's no point of doing this, right? But the son of the founder really thought about the future and how we can give more value or give back. It's all about giving back, I think, in Europe. And they were like, okay, let's try this technology. And if you look now, the solar division for Fronius is one which brings one of the most amount of revenue out of those three business units. Like it's always us and the welding machine. So I find it funny when people always say, "Hey, you can't do this, you can't do that," right? But when we actually achieve it, it gives you a lot of satisfaction, I would say.
No, I reckon you guys should run a Formula One team. To be fair, because that's the kind of mentality that you need to be to drive that level of excellence. I mean, when anyone thinks about Fronius, who knows about solar power technology, the first thing that comes to mind is premium. Okay, so premium brand, great product. I mean, why is Fronius such a premium brand? I mean, where does that come from?
Well, the way we manufacture our product has been very different than the rest from the market. Also, the technology that we use is different. So, for example, when you do power conversion, we know that all the electronics inside will get warm, right? Imagine you have a device on your wall. Let's say if you have a hybrid, it will work 24/7. If you have a solar system, it will work throughout the day. Imagine driving your car without any, like you're not cooling the engine at all. It will overheat, right? So we know that heat definitely creates issues with components, reduce the lifetime of the component. So for us, the way we design our boards and electronics, we want to make sure it lasts for a long time. And cooling is one of the big parts. I know some people say, look, why do you guys have fans in your inverters, right? It is a moving part. But if you use quality fans, you don't have any issues, right? And also in terms of the noise emission with the fans, we got a bit of a feedback about this, and we talk a lot with our partners, and with our new generation of inverters, for example, we reduce this noise emission. So for us, it's all about the quality of the product and the finish of the product, because it's not a throwaway culture at Fronius. Our product actually can be serviced on site. So the way we design the inverter is a bit like your car. If something happens and you need to go somewhere, you need to get it fixed as soon as possible, as if you have like a spare wheel, a spare tire in your car, right? So our product is designed this way so that you can harvest the most amount of energy.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, and it really is. I mean, even the design, with the whole snap lock component to it, and being able to just access the inverter itself, if you're obviously electrically trained to do so, it is just an amazing product. And I actually didn't know that component around it being designed to be able to be serviced and maintained and fixed, and over a period of time, which is absolutely brilliant, mate. Of course, one of the key reasons I got you on this morning was to talk about a TV show that's coming up. So for anyone who doesn't know, Energy Matters is the proud renewable energy partner for hit TV show Renovate or Rebuild. This is season 2 that's coming up right now. And on season 2, we've featured a range of amazing technology partners, some incredible people are on there. And one of the brands that we've featured is obviously our good friends at Fronius. So this week is episode 5. I'm just going to play a very quick introduction, a teaser for episode 5. For anyone watching, you can see it. For anyone listening, I apologize. There are words so you can hear.
It's a beautiful sunny day here in Underwood, just south of Brisbane. We're going to meet a young couple who love their suburb and they love their block. It's almost 800 square metres, but they've got a big decision to make. Are they going to renovate or rebuild?
So for anyone that couldn't see that, this week's episode on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. it'll be live on Channel 9, and then it repeats throughout the week on 9 Life. And at the end of the week, you can catch up on that particular episode on 9 Now, as well as catch up on the first 4 episodes of the season. Have you been watching the season so far, Sebastien?
Yeah, definitely. I really, really like what you guys are doing when I have a bit of time, because I've been traveling a lot the start of the year. I always try to tune in and watch a bit, but I really like the work that you guys are doing, and looking at those houses, I'm like, damn, it would be good to one day have one of those, and maybe get you guys to come in a bit of recording.
Absolutely, mate. When you have your mansion, which I'm sure isn't too far away, we'll be happy to come and film it, mate, for sure. Now, before we'll go into the technology that's featured on the show in a second. But before we do, I mean, why did Fronius choose to get involved in the TV show?
Well, for us, definitely we talk a lot with installers, right? And sharing what Fronius can do to the end users were one of the key parts that we wanted to achieve. And also making sure that we have the right partner, so not going with anyone in the market. And when we look at Energy Matters and what you guys are doing with all the TV shows, we think that you really provide a efficient and giving the right information to your customers, right? And efficiency is, I think, one of the most important part. Making sure that they have the most cost-efficient solution. The less headache is always the best. So we wanted to make sure we partner with the right company. Quality, yeah. So I just wanted to mention about quality also, because when you look at the show, it's all about quality also, right? So we think we align really well together there.
Look, you absolutely do, and I think for us, it's as you said, you hit the mark, and thank you for the comments as well. I mean, really, for us, we inspire net zero. We want everyone to embrace renewable energy technology if you can, and we know not every building every home or apartment block may be able to independently have renewable energy technology, but certainly, we want to encourage the masses to do so we can achieve net zero. And I think fundamentally for us, I mean, the TV show is an amazing vehicle for that, because actually it's all well and good hearing about it in a sales context, and seeing brochures and specification sheets, but to actually see the technology up close and personal on a TV screen in context, installed in a beautiful home or any type of home, really has you then get a real sense of, okay, so that's what it looks like, that's what it can do. And once again, I mean, the Fronius product range that you're featuring on this episode is phenomenal. What we'll do is have a quick look at that tech, and I'm trying something new today, so I apologize to anyone watching if this is a complete pod job, but I'm pretty sure you're about to hear us still. So we're going to have a look at a few photos, and as we do, we'll just get you to talk through, Seb, what we're seeing. So first and foremost, there's you and I. Look, you're very intense as always when you're communicating, although you always have a smile on your face. I mean, the technology we've seen in this particular property is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, can you talk me a little bit through about what tech we're seeing here?
Yeah, so basically we have, I think, around 33 to 34 kilowatt worth of panels. So to be quite frank, you don't see this amount on a residential house. And in terms of inverter there, they have three 10 kilowatt inverter. So the two which looks the same are snap inverters. And the one which is it has like a square shape is the Gen 24. So this is our new hybrid inverter. And also, if you look on the left-hand side, you will see two big battery stack, which is around 22 kilowatt hour each. Not only this, they also have a car charger there. So looking at the overall system, it's a mix of like our snap inverters, which has been in the market for quite a while, which has been proven in terms of reliability, but also you have the Gen 24, which has all the backup in terms of connecting with a battery and offering let's say a whole backup options if you want.
So really, that Gen 24, if I pull it into layman, is really if someone's home, if there was to be a blackout and there was sufficient charge in those batteries, that Gen 24 then goes into gear where it basically isolates the home from the grid and allows that battery to then power the home. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So the Gen 24 is the hybrid inverter, and the two other one are basically just a PV only inverter. So when the grid goes down, those two won't be powered.
Mate, that's absolutely fantastic. And here's another little picture for anyone watching with VHAN. She looks awesome with Chantal from Blue Gum. Blue Gum are an amazing installer, aren't they? I mean, it's Chantal's home as well. She owns Blue Gum Electrical, and they've done an absolutely fantastic job, as you'd expect. What I love, what I got to see for the first time was your Watt Pilot, which is your EV charger. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our Watt Pilot, we have actually two versions. The one that you can carry with you. So let's say if you have a holiday house, or for example, in Europe, you have a lot of plugs where you can plug your EV car charger. So you can do up to 22 kilowatt with the charger, but then it usually depends on what car you have. For example, if you have a Tesla, on a free phase, you can charge with 11 kilowatt. Also, it integrates with the solar system. Actually, we have some updates soon about our car charge. Actually, you're the first one who will hear about this one. So at the moment, our car charger can charge with surplus of PV energy only with a Fronius inverter. But down the track, you will also be able to do it with other inverters. With only adding a small smart meter. But that's something that we're working on. In general, I think what is very important for the customer to think is the whole ecosystem, because we can already see that some people, for example, have old other brand out there and they are struggling to find a solution, like a whole ecosystem where they can monitor, they can use the surplus of energy efficiently. So I think definitely when they are going for a product, to really ask questions down the track, what they want to do what basically they are trying to achieve there.
Which makes complete sense, especially with the modular format of your batteries as well. I mean, what I love about them is they're literally like a Lego set. You can sort of just stack up batteries according to what you need. And from an installation point of view, just the way they literally just drop on top of each other just gives that homeowner so much flexibility. We're starting with really a smaller battery setup just to see how much they're storing, how much they're discharging, in relation to what size solar system they have on the roof. And then if they're finding they actually need more electricity to be charged or to be stored for discharge that evening, to maybe even power their EV car, they can simply just call their installer and just get another one dropped on, which is awesome tech.
Definitely. You can also do some simulation if you want. So, for example, with all the data, how you use your system, you can also say, okay, how many batteries do I need more? So, which is very interesting.
Mate, and of course, we always have fun when we're filming. So we were lucky enough for Melbourne BMW to lend us their i7. Did you like the car?
Man, this is one of the dream car. I think when you showed up in the car, I'm like, okay, I'm adding this to my list. You're pretty lucky to be able to drive this one.
It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I did have a video, but it's too long, so I'm not going to play it. But it's just the stuff it can do with it's got cinema mode where the windows automatically tint, blinds drop from the back, a huge TV drops from the roof, and then the sound system with 36 on speakers was absolutely mind blowing. So we definitely had a lot of fun inside of that car, that's for sure. No, very
Definitely.
good, mate.
If you have some date ideas or if people want some date ideas, I think this is the perfect car. You can watch a movie at the back of the car, so it's perfect.
It's definitely the way to go. Look, we won't keep you for too much longer, but just a couple of quick questions. I mean, we saw each other again at Smart Energy a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. I mean, in your opinion, I mean, how does this exhibition benefit Fronius as well as the industry on the whole?
Yeah, for us, it was very important to be there because that's where we can catch up with all our clients at the same time. And also sometimes they have questions and they want to ask in person. So I think everyone comes together. Also sharing what is new with Fronius, what is happening, giving a broader update to our clients. And sometimes you also have end users who comes and ask for a few questions. So it's always good also to touch base if you want to come and have a look at the product, or if you have some doubts about different quotes, you're like asking for our opinion. So definitely, I think it is really good. In terms of the industry, all the manufacturers come together, and for us, it's always a good competition to have them. It's good also to see like what other people do. Don't get me wrong, they do the same with us, and I think looking at where the industry is going also is important as a whole, right? We are all trying to achieve this 100% renewable, or how we call it at first, 24 hours of sun. And we need to make sure we have partners, right? Sustainable partners doing the right thing for the industry. So I think in general has been a pretty good show. A bit, I think, less foot traffic than previous years. I think it's just the timing, right? It's like early start of the year, so a lot of installers were out there. Yeah, I think just installing, so just a bit of the timing.
No, absolutely. And then looking, chatting to John Grimes and the Smart Energy Council, I mean, those guys are just such troopers in our industry. I mean, they're driving the status quo. They really want to see change, and they're feet on the ground, essentially. They're in the trenches, just driving things forward. So kudos for them for staging such an amazing show. And look, yes, maybe a little bit too early in the year, but I think next year they're going to be pushing it back a bit anyway. So we can really capitalize on as many installers as possible, flying in and checking it out. Mate, before I let you go, I've got one final question for you. If I was your magic fairy and I could, create any product for you in the Fronius range that isn't out right now, what would it be? I mean, what product would you love to see enter the Australian market today? And I'll make it come true.
You make it come true. Okay.
I won't. It can't be
I think for me it would be maybe a 15 kilowatt hybrid inverter, three-phase kilowatt hybrid inverter. It's very hard because I know that we're bringing some stuff out, so I'm like,
I know, I'm trying to learn you to say.
which one? But actually, we're bringing like a 12.5 kilowatt hybrid, and
wow.
we're bringing a 30 kilowatt. It's not a hybrid yet, but we're bringing 30 kilowatts. So I think in my world, I would ask you for the 30 kilowatt because there's a lot of commercial customers or owners out there where a 30 kilowatt system will be perfect. So that's what I think I would wish for.
And I'm really glad that you said that, because although a 30 kilowatt inverter may sound excessive, I mean, we purchased a property last year and we're going to start to renovate it maybe 3 to 4 years time. And obviously solar power is mandatory. And I have a massive roof on that and we've already measured it up and we can fit 30 kilowatts. So for me, to achieve complete electrification and to have EV cars and to be able to have a full range of battery backup and just to have everything we possibly want to do without having to rely on the grid and also create clean green electricity, 30 kilowatts is perfect. So I think, really what I've seen as a trend in the market over the last year, especially, is we've gone up from 6.6 kilowatts of panels, which is really powering a 5 kilowatt inverter, all the way up to over 10. So I think the average system right now that people are looking at is between 10 to 12 kilowatts. Thank you, Sunwiz. But really, the next Warwick's gonna love the shout out. But the next step up is really going even bigger. And if you have got the roof space and the capacity, then of course you want to go up to sort of 30 kilowatts. I suppose it's just in a case of looking how that tech works. Is it hybrid? Ideally, it will be, because you then want to power your battery back up. In that scenario, do you still need, with that particular, and if this dream of mine of this product was to come to real, would that 30 kilowatt inverter require anything else to be able to provide battery backup and isolate it from the grid in if there's a blackout, or would it still need like a Gen 24 style product to be associated with it?
When it gets released, you will need to have like a Gen 24 next to it. But down the track, we're thinking, do we make a hybrid, a bigger hybrid inverter? Because the need for a battery for those big commercial is not there yet, we think. So I think we're waiting like for the perfect timing in a way. But it looks like you're closer to having the mansion than I do. But definitely, please get in touch with us. You have my number, so we can arrange something out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. You heard it here first. I'm going to keep this recording and pull it out when I need it. But look, Seb, you've been an absolute legend as always. Thank you so much for being on today's show. I'm really super excited to see Renovate Rebuild go to air Saturday at 3:30 p.m. on Channel 9. And certainly we'll be releasing some content after the show's gone to air. I think there was a really good discussion you and I had about the technology in front of camera. So we'll certainly be releasing that post show. But thank you for your time, mate. I do appreciate it.
Thanks, Roshan. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Seb's an absolute legend, and more so Fronius. What amazing technology. It's certainly worth looking at. If you have yet to, you've obviously heard us quite a bit today. If you have the time on Saturday, please do tune in to Renovate or Rebuild, 3:30 p.m. Saturday on Channel 9. And it will be repeating throughout the week on 9 Live. At the end of the week on Sunday, it will then pop up on 9 Now, which is their catch-up TV, which you can access either through, digitally or through Apple TV, whatever devices you have to be able to sort of stream. For more information on Fronius and their products, you can also jump onto their own website, or feel free to jump on Energy Matters. We host a page on there, which is energymatters.com.au/Fronius. If you have yet to take the plunge for solar and you're still kind of hesitating and thinking, should I? Look, there's never been a better time. I mean, the fact is there's a lot of stock available now in Australia. And of course, the pricing has never been better. So panels won't really get any cheaper. Batteries have come down significantly in price. And really that whole, it used to be a conversation about, look, really you want to be off grid, which is why you go batteries. But now the actual economics are starting to make sense as well. So certainly worth exploring, definitely getting solar power on the roof, getting a really quality inverter like the Fronius, considering going hybrid, and if you're adding the Gen 24 to obviously incorporate battery technology as well, and go modular, build up slowly. Don't just slap on 13, 14 kilowatts. You can go half of that and just see how you use that electricity. And of course, the next step is the EV. Watt Pilot by Fronius is definitely worth looking at. And of course, if you've got $360,000, you can buy yourself a BMW i7. But if you haven't got that much cash, there are a lot of EVs that are entry level between $40,000 to $60,000, and certainly worth looking at. Anyhow, that's me done for this week. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you next time. All the best.